What is up, everybody? We are back. This is week 2, episode 3 of the Ahsoka show. We've got our resident Star Wars analyst, Jared, in on the show, here to deliver you another weekly breakdown. We are 3 episodes into our 8-episode Ahsoka season, and I don't know. So far, for me, it's definitely for the most part lived up to the expectations, to the hype that I had set for it. I don't know how you feel on that. But we're going to discuss it all. We're going to break down the most recent episode, and then we are going to give our predictions for next week, which is looking like it should be an important episode for the rest of the season going forward. So, with that being said, let's get right into this. Jared, what were your overall thoughts on the episode?
I don't think this was a bad episode at all, but if I did have one criticism of it, I would say it sort of took a step down from the momentum that we have from episodes 1 and 2, with that really drawn out but still pretty entertaining, ship dogfight. I
Mm-hmm.
really liked that. It was fun. It was cool. There were some wacky moments, some cool moves. Like Sabine's getting her mojo back. Ahsoka having to go out on the ship was pretty rad.
Yeah.
But I think they could have cut down a little bit of that. I mean, we went from, you know, a pretty medium paced show from going, getting the thing from the first episode, the map, to losing the map, to, chasing them to this other planet with the shipyard, to tracking them, then we're getting ready for this. And that, kind of took a step down for this really long chase scene. Overall, the other things we saw in the episode was a little bit of the chancellors and the senators from the New Republic. That was pretty entertaining. I got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Seeing Hera, you know, work a little bit. And spoiler alert for those who have not seen the episode, finally seeing Jason Syndulla. It's pretty cool.
That was a big reveal right there.
The Lego sets led me to believe
The
that his
spoiler alert.
hair would be would be brown, but they got the green hair from Rebels. It's just a little more subtle.
Yeah.
Uh, and then there was also, we're kind of working backwards here, but there was a really entertaining scene with Sabine's training and Ahsoka showing her, the ropes, trying to get her to reach out with the Force, which is something that she couldn't do previously. So overall, I really like the episode. I just think it was a little drawn out and stopped the pacing that we had going with episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely was a slower episode compared to the two we just had. It had its moments, of course, and overall, I'd say I like it. It just was a little bit of a step down, and of course, I'm not going to say it's filler because we did get important pieces out of it, but it just felt slow, and like you said, it was dragged out. This was 37 minutes of runtime, which even for an 8-episode series feels somewhat small, and yet you just crammed so much of it with one big scene that I feel like could have been chopped up to show us some more parts and maybe advance the plot line a little more. That was my biggest takeaway from it. You're right. Seeing Jason was cool. His big reveal finally takes place. He looks like he's probably, I don't think he's in his teen years yet, if not, early teen years. So I don't feel like we'll get any crazy character arc development from him just yet. I mean, you see the line, Mom, I want to be a Jedi. And she's like, I know, I know. So, I mean, I'm sure eventually we'll get some action out of him. Maybe he could be a key piece later down the line. That was a cool moment. Like you said, Harrow putting in the work with the New Republic. And it's just sort of like, I'm sure that it's intentional for them to come off not seeming the smartest because, obviously they have to get overthrown by the First Order. So I think it's intentional for them to look this way. But they just feel so, like, blind and they all feel like rookies and like they've never done anything before because it's just mistake after mistake after mistake and constant leaving these wide holes open for the First Order to plant their seeds and to grow. Obviously, in episode 2, we see the corruption in the shipyards on Corellia, and they just left all the Empire workers there under the assumption that if we pay them, it'll be fine. That made no sense to me, and now you're seeing that they're just ignoring all these obvious signs of war um, because they're blaming it on Hera looking for Ezra, which, obviously, if bad guys are breaking prisoners out of jail looking for Thrawn, and the New Republic knows this, that there's obviously some legitness to it. So for them to just keep ignoring it, just keeps showing me the reasons why this New Republic, spoiler alert, ends up getting overthrown. Because they're constantly leaving the door open for bad guys to slip in, for mistakes to happen, and it's just been really. I think it's intentional for them to look this way, but it is almost like frustrating to see just how many stupid mistakes after stupid mistakes that they're going to keep making.
This is running concurrently with Mandalorian in the timeline, right?
It jumps around because from the first two episodes, like at the end of episode 2, when they have the scene at the mural where Sabine turns around and looks to Ahsoka, that's supposed to recreate the moment from the last scene of Rebels. So the timeline jumps. I'm not quite sure how far this is. From the website I was looking at this morning, it says 9 ABY. When the construction was nearly complete on the whole Eye of Sion thing that we've been, talking about. Um, so I feel like that's about where we're at right now. Is
Because what
9
I'm thinking
ABY.
is, like, if this is happening at the same time as the Mandalorian, we have like Moff Gideon getting broken out, still on the run.
It has to be
Um,
similar timing because of what was
yeah,
going on in Mandalorian season 3, where Moff is, and the whole Shadow Council is talking about Thrawn coming back. So I mean, those timelines overlapping. Does that mean we'll get to see Mando? I don't think we'll see a cameo from him. It's not expect like I'm not expecting that. At some point, I feel like it's almost blatantly, not I don't know the right word because I don't want to say stupid, but it's just misguided if we don't see Luke at some point because this is an issue that's getting far out of hand to where simply, Ezra and Ahsoka can do it themselves, and we don't even know if we're gonna get Ezra. By the time he comes back, he could just retire and say, Sabine, you do it. I'm just gonna kill myself, something like that. So we don't quite know what we're getting. So I feel like we should be seeing Luke at some point. Um, but yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from the episode was just seeing the gap holes in the New Republic and just like seeing them constantly plant the seeds for themselves getting destroyed and overthrown.
yeah, it's a little frustrating to watch, knowing, I mean, we obviously have the benefit of hindsight,
Mhm.
knowing exactly where this goes. But, you would think in times of peace, they would still be looking into these kind of things and not just enjoying like the peace they have because, they have it. You should
Yeah,
be trying to spot the problems as they arise and to like, see that there are still like loyalists within the New Republic. I mean, you can't just assimilate like an entire, considerably larger faction
yeah,
than yourself and just expect them all to go on board with it, especially after you've seen, how that can end with what happened on Corellia.
100%. Yeah, I mean, this for those watching, we're still in our general thoughts segment, and I think these are just like all big takeaways that we get from watching the episode. Because I mean, they do. I mean, there's not much going on, but what is going on, I think, is just it points out a lot. Like it's definitely making itself very prevalent. We can see not where the central plot of this season, but where the central plot of this period of Star Wars is going right now, and it's just making sure that we see how the transition from New Republic to First Order happens somewhere down the line, years from now. I'm gonna love to see like the official moment, like the official, the official rise of the First Order, like when they really make themselves known. Because I don't think that was First Awakened, because Force Awakens, because they seem too powerful by then. So I think there's moments before the Force Awakens that I want to see on screen of how they take over. But with that being said, we'll move into our notes, our smaller takeaways from the episode. Just to give you guys a brief recap, Ahsoka and Sabine embark on their journey to track down the Eye of Sion and the hyperdrive core that was stolen from Corellia. While on the ship, Hu Yang is training Sabine, getting her lightsaber techniques down, but he's my major note that I wrote down was that Hu Yang has probably been the funniest character to me so far because he just lets Sabine have it with no filter, and it's pretty funny to me. And he's constantly roasting her, he's constantly on her ass, and that's just been really funny. Um, so yeah, they're doing their lightsaber strikes. Ahsoka intervenes because she's just not scoring well on anything, and she puts the mask over to basically blind her to get her sense of the Force down. And Sabine doesn't look horrible, but she's often just swinging at the air, not quite sensing what's going on just yet. And as she should. She's not really a Force sensitive child, and she's not a child at all because she's like 30 something. So it's expected that she performs the way she does. As they exit hyperspace, they exit pretty early, and as Hu Yang and Ahsoka keep going back and forth about the Jedi protocol, because Hu Yang always loves to bring it up. This time it's Ahsoka who brings up that standard Jedi protocol to land far outside of a place that you're going to when it's unknown. They see this Eye of Sion as they make their way over the planet, and it's massive. And it kind of gives you a reminiscent of A New Hope when they're just like, oh, that's no moon. So I did get those flashbacks. I felt like that was a little reminiscent of that. From there, they get into a dogfight with the Balin's apprentice and Merrick, who's we hear his voice for the first, or their voice for the first time. It's very robotic, which makes me feel like there's definitely a person under there. I think it's a girl. I really do, because even though they give it the pronoun of his, I think Balin doesn't know who is under the mask. And so we see them engage in a dogfight with Ahsoka and Sabine, and Sabine is manning the tail gun, and she's just 0 for 100 out there. She just keeps shooting and keeps missing until she finally starts to find her way. And by then, they're just getting lit up by whether it's the ships, whether it's the Eye of Sion using its turbo lasers. The ship gets lit up. Ahsoka gets out onto the wing, does her thing with the lightsabers, very Clone Wars esque. And finally, they end up just going down to the planet, settling down in the forest. Balin sends out a search team because he wants them found. Um, and that's really where this episode ends. Obviously, Hera has her little squabble with the New Republic that we mentioned. And I think it's potentially sets up a good episode next week if they can engage, with each other now that they're on the ground. If they really make their way to Balin, and the plot is able to progress somewhat faster next episode, I think it sets us up for a good episode. That's just my general recap. Jared, if you have any extra notes that you want to add.
That about does it, really. It was a pretty clear-cut episode.
Yeah,
One thing I did want to point out was the scale of the hyperdrive was pretty massive. I mean,
yeah,
we've seen
definitely.
those rings before.
Oh yeah.
Obi-Wan picked one up in Attack of the Clones very briefly. So these
There's
are
been a lot of appearances from those rings, especially in the Clone Wars. But almost every Jedi had their own mini ring when they had their personal ship.
so to see one on this scale is pretty impressive, and I think it's pretty cool as well because it doesn't seem like it's like the other rings where the vessel docks in it and then takes off. This is
No, I think
its
the
own
ring
thing.
is the ship. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
or the ring is going to pick up Thrawn's ship, and so the ring is transporting itself there, and then when it comes back, it'll have a ship in it. I feel like it's one of those two. One of those two things.
yeah. I think the other one is I think your idea with taking Thrawn's ship is like extremely more entertaining. That would be very cool.
Something more entertaining. It just depends on the condition of Thrawn's ship, because obviously we saw the. Oh, that's what I forgot to mention. We do see Purgle in live action, which is pretty cool. And but aside from that, yeah, we do see Thrawn's ship kind of get beaten down by the Purgle. So what condition it's in, TBD. But if they are able to take Thrawn's ship back, then that's pretty cool use of the Eye of Sion.
But that about wraps up my thoughts on the episode.
Yeah. So with that being said, then we'll just move straight into our predictions for next week. It should be an interesting episode, Jared. What are your predictions for this fourth episode of Ahsoka?
I'm not really thinking anything insane is going to go down. I think they're going to have their ground skirmish then either by the end of the episode or somewhere, early to middle of episode 5. We're going to see the ring actually launch. And then, everyone's going to go into scramble mode from there, trying to get there, also trying to find Ezra. And that'll be a huge panic. So that's really what I think is going to happen. I don't think we're going to see anything huge out of Balin, maybe like a fight, but I mean, obviously we need to keep these, big characters around for the end of the season. So we'll see, but that's mainly what I think. I think it'll be pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a potential for more stuff to go on, but for now, I think it's just going to be Ahsoka and Sabine progressing inland, trying to make their way to Balin, trying to find their way around while they're getting tracked down. I think we could potentially see like Merrick and his apprentice engage in a little fight. I don't think we're gonna see anything too crazy, and just because we really don't know what's gonna happen, I'm really hoping some extra stuff is gonna come in. I would love a flashback. This is the second episode in a row. Not really this episode, definitely episode 2, where I felt like we were gonna get a flashback, and we just haven't gotten it yet. I think it's coming soon though. Maybe next week if they set it up right. But you're right. I think it's just gonna be ground skirmishes. I don't think we're gonna get any crazy reveals or anything. Powering up the Eye of Sion towards the end of next episode would certainly be relatively early in the season, which would make me optimistic that we're gonna get even more climactic stuff happening towards the end. So I will be interested to see all of that as it sort of progresses towards. I think that's what all we're gonna get next episode, though. Maybe a little more New Republic squabbling, but for the most part, just ground skirmishes. I think next episode is probably gonna be like the shortest one yet, honestly, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'm thinking, this episode is, I mean, it's an 8-part series now. It
Yeah, 8, yeah.
so
We do
I'm
have 5
thinking,
weeks left.
yeah. So I'm thinking like we're gonna get maybe 2 more episodes of this kind of like, running around, whatever. But then we have like I think we'll get 3 strong episodes of just the stuff we really want to see.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I know you are too. Like I said, I'm generally feeling good about this series so far. This, like I said, there's a lot at stake for Star Wars going into this, and I feel like so far, even with a slow week this week, it happens. We're not going to get 8 episodes of jam-packed action, so 1 or 2 here and there is perfectly fine, as long as they advance the plot a bit. I'm still optimistic. I still have my faith in it. I'm still really looking forward to every week. And that's just how I feel. That's where we're at. I think we're in a good spot for the rest of the series, and I think good things are to come. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up here?
No, I just think, I'm also in a position of having optimism for the series.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, quick episode today. Not much to talk about. We will be right back with you guys next week as always. Uh, we've got 5 weeks left of the Ahsoka series. I like where we're at. I think it's gonna be a fun 5 weeks. And thank you for coming as always, Jared.
Of course.
And we will see you guys next week. Also remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. We're almost at 100. Road to 100 subscribers. I mean, get us there, guys. Let's go. Thank you. And we will see you next week.